November 17th, 1558, St. James's Palace in London. A dying queen. But not just any queen. This is Mary Tudor, also known as Bloody Mary. Her last moments were silent, unnoticed by the servants around her. After ruling England with an iron fist, persecuting hundreds, and failing to give her country an heir, Mary's life was ending quietly. But her death? It's one of history's most tragic and dramatic. In her final days, she was abandoned, forgotten by those she loved most. What happened in the last moments of Mary's life? And how did her death change England forever? Stick around as we dive into the haunting and tragic final days of Queen Mary Tudor. Mary Tudor ruled with a relentless grip, pushing England to return to Catholicism. Her reign was marked by fear, bloodshed, and the burning of 300 Protestants at the stake. But the Queen was not invincible. Despite her power, her life was filled with personal torment, and her failing health became the kingdom's darkest secret. At just 42, Mary's body had debated her. She was desperate for an heir to secure her Catholic legacy, yet with every pregnancy, she was met with crushing disappointment. By 1558, her body could no longer withstand the battles it had fought for decades. Now the once feared queen was dying in agony, abandoned by those closest to her, even her husband. In August 1558, just months before her death, Mary felt a familiar, painful swelling in her abdomen. Her ladies whispered among themselves, thinking the queen was finally pregnant. But Mary knew better. She'd been here before, twice. Each time, the swelling had turned out to be a false pregnancy, leading to nothing but heartache and humiliation. This time, it felt different, more intense, more painful. Her physician, Dr. Thomas Huick, examined her and noted alarming signs: yellowing skin, bulging eyes, and a deep, raspy voice. But his journal revealed even more chilling news. Her Majesty suffers from her old disease, but worse than ever before. This old disease would be the thing that ultimately killed her, a cruel, unseen force slowly tearing her apart. While Mary fought her personal battles, England itself was in crisis. A deadly influenza epidemic was sweeping through London, claiming thousands of lives. The country was reeling from 2 years of devastating harvests, leaving people starving and desperate. The royal court was no exception. The atmosphere was tense, knowing the queen was dying, and more importantly, knowing who would replace her: her half-sister, Elizabeth. Mary's legacy of bloodshed and persecution would soon be overshadowed by Elizabeth's Protestant rule. The death of the Queen was no longer a matter of if, but when. And when the end came, it would bring about a seismic shift in English history, one that would forever alter the country's religious landscape. As Mary's health rapidly declined, those around her began to quietly abandon her. Her once bustling court was now a ghost town. Courtiers who had once pledged their loyalty were secretly making their way to Elizabeth, sensing the inevitable. Even Cardinal Reginald Pole, Mary's closest advisor, was too sick to tend to her. It was clear that the future queen had already begun to assemble her court in waiting. Meanwhile, Mary's husband, Philip II of Spain, had been absent for over a year, ignoring her desperate pleas to return. His silence spoke volumes, as did the actions of those around her. The queen was not only dying physically, but she was also dying emotionally, abandoned by everyone she had trusted. By October 1558, Mary was no longer able to recognize the faces of those who remained by her side. She called for people who had been dead for years: her mother, Catherine of Aragon, who died in 1536, and her former governess, Margaret Pole, who was executed by her father in 1541. Her most heart-wrenching moments came when she repeatedly asked for Philip, her husband, who had long since left her in both body and spirit. Her body, ravaged by disease, no longer functioned. She was blind, suffering from swelling and fluid buildup, unable to breathe without pain. The suffering she endured in her final days was unimaginable. A queen who had once ruled with power and conviction was now reduced to a shadow of herself. As the days passed, Mary's mental state began to deteriorate. On November 13, 1558, just days before her death, she began to speak of seeing children, like angels, playing and singing around her. Some saw this as a delirium brought on by her illness, but others believed it was a divine visitation. Mary had always longed for children of her own, yet had been denied them time and time again. Her visions were either a final mercy or a cruel reminder of what she would never have. The queen, who had suffered so much, finally found some peace in these visions, either brought on by her dying brain or perhaps by a higher power. It was a bittersweet moment of clarity in the midst of her agony. On the evening of November 16, 1558, despite her blindness and weakened state, Mary insisted on making her final confession. Father John Feckenham stayed with her for hours as she struggled to stay conscious long enough to speak her heart. She made detailed plans for her funeral, instructing that she be buried with her mother, Catherine of Aragon, and that masses be said for her soul, though it was clear that in the new Protestant England, such prayers would soon be outlawed. These final moments, spent planning for a future that would never come, were a painful reminder that Mary's reign and faith would be erased by her sister. But Mary, ever devoted to her faith, found solace in her final confession. In the early morning hours of November 17, 1558, Father Feckenham began the final rites for the dying queen. As he recited the prayers, something extraordinary happened. Mary, who had been blind for weeks, suddenly responded clearly and strongly to the words of the Agnus Dei. It was a moment of miraculous clarity. Her eyes, which had seen nothing but darkness, seemed to focus on the elevated host. A peaceful smile spread across her face. And then, just as quietly as it had begun, her life ended. No dramatic final words, no struggle. Mary simply stopped breathing. For several minutes, no one realized what had happened. It wasn't until Dr. Huick checked her pulse that the truth became clear. Mary Tudor was dead. The news of Mary's death spread quickly, but the reactions were mixed. Elizabeth, though likely prepared for this moment, issued orders to erase the Catholic legacy Mary had worked so hard to restore. Catholic altars were torn down, and the Protestant Reformation was given full reign. Yet, Elizabeth ordered that Mary receive a funeral befitting a queen, perhaps out of respect, or perhaps to solidify her own position. But as Mary's body was laid to rest, it was a stark reminder that her legacy would be forever overshadowed by Elizabeth's Protestant reign. Mary's body was buried in a simple grave, while Elizabeth's would be grandly memorialized, her more famous half-sister literally lying on top of her in death. Mary Tudor's death marked the end of an era for Catholic England. Her tragic life, full of personal pain and political turmoil, was quickly overshadowed by Elizabeth's rise. But history's erasure of Mary's legacy wasn't complete. Modern medical studies have unraveled the mystery of her suffering, diagnosing conditions like endometriosis, a pituitary tumor, and metastatic ovarian cancer, conditions that not only caused her immense physical pain, but also contributed to her emotional decline. Despite the best efforts to erase her from history, Mary's final days leave behind a story of struggle, faith, and the high price of power. Mary may have failed to secure her faith and legacy, but her story is still a powerful part of England's history. If you found the story of Mary Tudor's final days compelling and heartbreaking, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more captivating historical content. Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think of Mary's death? Was it a tragic end for a queen who fought so hard? Or was it the ultimate consequence of her actions? Want to dive deeper into history's most intriguing figures and untold stories? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Join us as we uncover more hidden histories and explore the lives of those who shaped the world. Don't let the story of Mary Tudor be forgotten. Her legacy is a powerful reminder of the fragility of life and the complexity of history.